just being able to step outside of a comfort zone, being able to do something new and different, and to take on the challenges of, I don't know what I'm doing. I have to find out, I have to figure it out.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where each episode we share the stories of individuals that are living out their bucket/life goal lists. I am your host, Roger Williams, and through hearing our guests' adventures, my goal is that you will find encouragement and empowerment to add and cross items off of your list. Welcome everybody to the show. Excited to be here. We have a guest today that's going to talk to us about crossing an item off their bucket list that seems like a lot of people have these days. So I want to welcome Helen Hicks to the show. She describes herself as unique, bold, authentic, and caring, and we're going to experience all that today. Helen, thanks you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Helen, tell us, what is it that you crossed off your list?
Start a podcast.
Okay, I have experience in this. And so what was the driving factor for you to put that on your list and to make that happen and to cross it off?
So starting a podcast for me is actually part of a much bigger item that I want to cross off my list, which is I want to reach 1% of the world's adult population.
Wow. So That's a great goal. And I think a lot of times when we have bucket list items, they create more lists, more to-do lists and things to put on there. So that makes good sense. So why a podcast? What is it about podcasts that drew you to helping you achieve that goal?
So podcast to me felt achievable. You know, you think about people that have like actual radio shows or they're on TV and things of that nature. And there's so much that has to go on, you know, people that you have to know, money that you have to have, like all these other things. But a podcast felt doable. It felt like something I can achieve. So
there's a lot of what I would call DIY in the do it yourself in the podcast world, especially when you first start. I feel that heavy. So how much of that are you doing? Because I do know some people that like farm some of the editing out or that stuff. Are you doing all of it?
No, I did have to hire, someone to do like the editing, because I have video pieces that are on YouTube, and then I have just the audio content that's on different platforms as well. So I did have to hire someone to do that because I have my own private practice that I'm managing. And what I do with my podcast is I have a handful of clients who have agreed to allow me to record our sessions.
That just amazes me. What brave people, for sure.
Definitely. I appreciate them so much.
Yeah, imagine.
But yeah, I record the sessions and then I kind of hand it off to other people, and they kind of edit different things. Maybe there's a lull, in the recording for whatever reasons, or sometimes we lose connection, because I'm sure you've experienced that as well.
Yep.
So yeah, they kind of do that behind the scenes stuff for me because I'm still managing my practice.
Is there anything about podcasting that, like, as you've done it and you've crossed it off your list, is there anything that excites you about it as far as like the process of actually doing a show?
I do kind of look forward to just setting everything up, getting the microphone out and the lights, and, all this kind of stuff. And it feels like I'm doing something so big because I'm setting things up. So I do like that feeling of being excited about it. The therapy itself, I've been doing it for so long. It's like, it's what I do. Right. But yeah, the aspect of a podcast, that's exciting.
What about it do you not like? Like, what's the drudgery of doing a podcast for you? What's the one thing that like you didn't expect to have to do and now have to do, or something that just is not as fun as the rest of it?
Let me think. Because I feel like 2 months ago, I probably could have very readily answered that question. But now things have kind of found a rhythm. So I guess that is my answer. Finding a rhythm. That was the
Great.
most difficult part of really just kind of figure out how is all of this new stuff going to work together? How can I piece it all in with what I already have going on? So now that I found that rhythm, it feels so much easier.
You have a very unique niche, I think, at some level with your podcast, which everyone says super important. Was that hard for you to come up with? I mean, you've been a therapist, and so how was that for you as far as saying, okay, I'm going to go do this? Are there other podcasts in your genre like this, or is this something unique for you in the industry?
Yes, how I'm doing it is very unique. I've been told that there are other people who record certain sessions, with clients, but they typically don't do the same client for an extended period of time.
Okay.
It's usually various different clients and typically 1 to 2 episodes only. So my approach, where I have a client who they sign a contract with me for 3 months at a time.
Okay.
So once they come to the end of their 3 months, they can choose whether they want to continue for another 3 months as a podcast client, or they can continue off the
Right.
podcast. But it's just so that I have 3 months of content to be able to put out there. But what led me to do this is I've had my private practice for over 12 years, and I've been in the mental health field for over 25 years. And I find myself constantly repeating some of the same things over and over and over again. And I've always thought to myself, like, wow, if there's so many different people who need to hear these same things, there's got to be a better way than trying to tell one person at a time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's really awesome that you can duplicate your time like that. I think that's great. So explain to me just real quick, you have 3 months at a time with the same client, and then your podcast switches to a different client, or so you're only doing this for one client at a time. You're not doing it taping sessions for everybody, or are you backlogging content?
I'm backlogging content.
Oh, good.
So it's not every client, it's those who agree.
Sure.
And it's usually clients who are just coming in to the therapy. I don't really want to capture the clients that I've had for years because we already have a therapeutic rapport. We have kind of like our rhythm and things of that nature. So someone listening into that probably wouldn't find as much in it to help themselves.
Okay.
Because at that point, we've gotten very specific to them. So I like to ask the people who are just coming in, because that's when we're building the therapeutic rapport. That's when people can identify with a lot of the broader topics that people are, presenting and the issues that they're working on.
Yeah, I find this all fascinating because I have to get a new guest every week. So it's it'd be great if I could show the same person for 3 months. It's so much easier. So what is that like for the clients when they come into those first couple of sessions and you say, hey, I have this option? Like, what's the standard response? Are you getting a good response from your clients, or are people like, oh no, I would never do that?
It's kind of mixed. Most people are like, wow, that's a really cool idea. Let me think about it. And then now that I have episodes that are out, I can tell people, hey, check it out. See if it's for you, if that's something you're okay with, and let me know. And so that is definitely helped with a lot of people being able to come back and say, yeah, I'm interested, So
we'll be back with more of Helen's story right after this. What is the status of your bucket list? Are you still wrapping your head around the purpose of having one? Are you struggling to write your list and don't know what to put on it? Or are you looking at your list wondering which item to cross off first? No matter where you are in your bucket list journey, I'm here to assist you in becoming the head crosser-offer of your list. To learn how to work with me as your bucket list coach, visit crossingitoffpodcast.com/coaching to find out all about the personalized and affordable coaching I offer to help you live out your list. Now back to the show.
it's better.
Yes. I always ask my guests to go and listen to an episode just so they can get kind of a feel of what the show's about and what we do. I don't know if they really do it, but they say they do.
I did.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
It's very helpful. So what, thinking forward, as far as your goal is concerned of reaching that 1%, how do you see the podcast fitting into that structure for reaching that bigger goal?
Okay. Well, I'm definitely hoping that the podcast is kind of like my foot in the door, um,
Mhm.
that I can get my name and what I'm doing out there and hopefully get picked up,
Right.
somewhere along the lines in a larger, format to reach more people to eventually get to that 1%.
So as far as listenership goes, how are you getting that the fact that you're doing this now out to other people? How are you promoting the podcast to get people to listen to it?
Okay. So I'm definitely present on just about all social
Mm,
media platforms. And it's under the name of my podcast, which is What Would Helen Say? So people can find me on Twitter and YouTube. I have LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn is under my name.
yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of all these other things. Instagram, Snapchat. Wait, I'm take that back. Not Snapchat, TikTok.
Okay.
So like I think there's like 6 platforms or so of social media that I'm on. So I have that definitely.
And how's that? Is that producing what you want as far as listenership, or do you feel like maybe that's spinning your wheels, or is it too soon to tell?
It's increasing. Like we're just starting to see like bumps in viewership as people are seeing me come up,
Hmm.
more often. So YouTube views have definitely increased over the last 2 weeks. And Instagram is probably number two in terms of viewership.
For the actual podcast, a lot of times people will say it's okay to pivot, right? If you're doing something and you're podcasting and it's not working, you pivot to doing something else. I heard a story once that a guy had a podcast called Real Estate, Wine, and More, and wound up looking at it and saying, oh gosh, the people, my most viewed, listened to episodes are the wine ones. So he totally changed. He's a real estate agent, was trying to use it for something and totally changed it to just about spirits. Do you have a long-term goal to say, okay, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I know this is the direction I want to go. Could you pivot to something else, or is if this doesn't work, how do you end it?
If it doesn't work, I think I can end it very
Yeah.
simply. But I still want to stay focused on mental health because
Hmm.
that's, I'm a professional therapist. This is what the sessions are about, the process of mental health and people going from A to B. So if I have to shift how I'm presenting the information about mental health and the
Mm.
skills and, resources and things like that, then I'm definitely open to trying to figure out like what is it people want? What is the format they want, this mental health information in? I just figured that if people were in the therapy session, themselves, then one, it could help them feel better about, accessing mental health
Sure.
services,
Most definitely.
taking a lot of the fear out, because I know that's happened with a lot of my clients before where they've reached out to me and they said, I'm really interested. And then they just couldn't make that first step to get into my office to, show up for a session or whatever it is. So that's one. I really want to make this accessible in a way so that other people say, hey, I can do that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your ideal client was, but I think you are a listener, and I think you just uh, answered that question for me. So I appreciate you being ahead of the game. If somebody else was starting a podcast or thought or had this on their bucket list, what's like the one thing that you would tell them or advise them to do or to think about as they were going through that process of crossing it off their list?
Um, do your research with the different platforms that are available, for like hosting your podcast. Um, I don't know if you want me to talk about the platform that I use, which is Squadcast.
No, that's
uh,
totally fine.
okay. But I selected Squadcast because they offer the video and audio
Hmm.
recording, and that's part of what I was looking for. So it's a little bit more than some of the other podcast platforms that, are cheaper or free, or, even just kind of doing it on your own. So I appreciate the fact that, I just log in. I send the link to somebody, and then once we start, we're good to go. So I appreciate that. But just check out what your resources are, see what is doable for you, and what you're trying to achieve, and just make sure it meets your needs.
Could you explain to listeners, you use the term in their host? So that like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or what is a host?
Okay. Well, I'm using it in terms of different, I guess, online providers that will record your podcast for you. And, they offer you different supports and things of that nature. So instead of me having to record episodes straight onto my laptop, I can record it onto Squadcast, which has cloud recording, and
Mm,
then I can access it, from different places, send it to other people, things of that nature. It just makes it easier for me, that I don't have to always be like, oh, I need my laptop in order to
right.
do this. Um, so that's what I mean by a host for your podcast.
And then the host, they actually, it's where the files exist, right? That's where
Yes,
the files land. And then they create a URL for people to access those files. And then people go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher
exactly.
or whatever, and they get that feed. What is something else that's on your bucket list that's a little bit different than this, and your goal of reaching 1%? What's something else on your bucket list that you're excited about?
Well, the other thing is, I wrote a nonfiction book. It's about parenting.
Hmm.
And so it combines my experiences from between myself and my parents, my experiences between myself and my children, my experiences with clients, being in the behavioral health field. Um, Everything kind of comes together to create a foundation for
Hmm.
parenting. It's not meant to replace, skills and other approaches that are already out there. It's really to say, hey, if you have this foundation for your approach to parenting, it's going to make everything else easy. It's going to eliminate power struggles. It's going to eliminate, a lot of back and forth that parents tend to have with their kids. It's going to eliminate oppositional defiant behaviors. Like, if you have this foundation, then you've just simplified a lot of parenting.
Sure, most definitely. And you've written it and it's published.
I've written it, and I am currently in the process of seeking a publisher. So I have a literary agent. Everything is finally green lighted to start heading out towards publishers. So, yes, and that's called the Parenting Treatment Plan.
Nice. Well, good luck with that. If there
Thank
was
you.
one thing you took away from crossing off, creating a podcast or starting a podcast, what would be that one thing that you personally took away from that experience?
I think just being able to step outside of a comfort zone, being
Hmm.
able to do something new and different, and to take on the challenges of, I don't know what I'm doing. I have to find out, I have to figure it out. so, so definitely being in that space of not comfortable.
There you go. Nice. Well, Helen, thank you so much for being here today. Good luck. Could you tell us where people can find your podcast and your services, or someplace to learn more about your book
Sure.
as it comes out?
Absolutely. So you can look for my podcast on pretty much all the platforms that are out there for podcasts. It's called What Would Helen Say? And it's on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora. I'm still working with Apple. But
They're a little
you
bit
can
more
even find
strict.
me yeah. So you can even find me on Instagram under What Would Helen Say? Again, the title of my book is The Parenting Treatment Plan. Hopefully you will be able to see that in bookstores soon. And you can always Google me as Helen V Hicks, MA, LTC.
Nice. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you the best of luck in all your
Thank
endeavors, and
you.
especially in reaching that 1%. The information you have would be vital to them and all of us. So I appreciate what you're doing, and
Thank you.
good luck.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on your show.
As a reminder to our listeners, in this episode's show notes, you will find links to learn more about this week's guest and information on how you can cross this item off of your list. You can follow my adventures of crossing items off my bucket list on Instagram and Facebook, and as always, new episodes of this podcast are available to stream every Friday morning. We will meet you here next week, and until then, keep living out your list.